Pretty talented team, I think. Good older guards. Obviously, Duran Scott is a terrific penetrator and driver of the ball. Malcolm Grant, very good shooter. They're completely different now when they have Reggie Johnson back, big, strong, physical inside presence. And then I've really been impressed with Kenny Kaji, the post player, transferred from Florida. He's really talented, shoots a three, has great size, can play the 4 or the 5, so they can play really big like they usually do with their starting lineup. Obviously, it'd be very challenging for us to win a game on the road against a team that's got some experience. So they've been off for a week and had a bunch of time to kind of get ready, so I'm sure their guys are eager to get back and especially have an ACC opener at home.
Has he changed at all since he was at George Mason looking at it?
Not really.
System?
Not really. They've never been very complicated. They run a few things and just kind of continue to run them over and over. He isolates good players. They always had good players at George Mason. They usually had a good big guy. Almost, I think every year I was there, they had a great big guy. A guy that was an all-conference player. Now they got Reggie Johnson. They've got a guy like that. So, they're maybe ball screening a little bit more now than they did when he was at George Mason. But for the most part, style of play is very similar. Obviously, he's had a lot of success doing it.
I guess you and Coach Larry know each other fairly well.
Yeah, we've competed for a long time, and it seems like a long time ago, to be honest with you. When I was back in the CAA, it's been 2 stops or whatever, but we had great games, and we're 2 of the better teams in the league at the time. So obviously, very meaningful games.
What is it about the road in the ACC this year? I know it's real early, but it seems like there's just a really distinct difference between home and away for teams, including yourself.
Well, I think kids are just more comfortable playing at home and getting the positive feedback from your crowd when you make good plays, and obviously there's positive reinforcement of good plays when you're at home by the crowd. It's easier to have a little extra juice, and the opposite is true when you're on the road. You hear about when you do negative things, and so that's reinforced by the fans and the people you play against. But I also think there's just kids are more comfortable and get into a good rhythm at home, and have had good positive experiences to draw on, usually from those games at home over their careers, and so they tend to play a little bit better.
This game against Miami, I would assume, would be a good sort of get over the hump, get that first ACC road win.
Yeah, we need to get a road win in the league, and obviously they're really hard to come by. I think we only won 2 last year, so it's not like they're easy to get. But we'd like to get one and get behind us. We just like to, we felt like we played better against Duke than we did against Boston College. We want to continue to try to play well, but we need to try to find a way to win a game too.
What can you guys do to be more efficient shooting the ball from 3 or free throw lines?
I mean, there's occasionally from 3, maybe a little bit of shot selection, just making sure that you're taking shots, on time, on rhythm, so that you're feeling good about it. I think at times, Andre and Tanner, especially, press every once in a while because they feel like they have to do more than, maybe even sometimes more than they really need to do. But they just feel the pressure, the onus to make a big shot or make a play for our team. And I thought that was really true at Boston College. I thought Tanner was really forcing some things and trying to do some things that a little out of character, but he's doing it for the right reasons. So there's a little bit of that. Free throws is just really, it comes down to technique and confidence. And, you're not doing a whole lot with guys' technique now. You might tweak a little bit, but mainly I think you just want them confident going to the line and feeling good about themselves. We shot a bunch of free throws yesterday, but at the end of the day, it's still a guy going up there and feeling good about his shot and shooting it in, more than it is about things that you're doing to correct, a lot of things in their shot. It's, you're going to mess with their minds too much if you start doing too much during the season.
Does that make the free throw shooting even more frustrating? Because as much as you can practice it here, does it, it's not the same as being
Yeah, it's
here.
not the same. And I've said this before, our guys shoot 100 free throws, they'll all make over 70, and a lot of them will make over 80% of the shots. They'll make 80 out of 100. But that's not the same as, you've run up and down and, you're tired a little bit, and now you go to the line and there's a crowd there, and you know that it really means something, and you only get to 2, and maybe it's a 1-and-1, and maybe there's pressure on it, and whatever it is. And so it's hard to simulate that, in practice. You can have a guy run for a miss or something like that, but that's not the same as the internal pressure you feel and put on yourself for when you're just at the line trying to win a game and know that your free throw counts for not just you, but for everybody on your team.
You spoke about Jim's system being pretty simple, but that you had to kind of master it through repetition. Do you think when you look at most successful programs, coaches, are they siding towards simplicity or complexity with what they do?
I don't know. I think it kind of depends on certain situations. It also depends on whether you have better talent. I think when you have better talent, you can be a little simpler. You can line up in the eye and just overpower people with your line and run it right down their throat. When you're maybe not quite as talented, you got to spread things out. Sometimes you got to do different things. You got to be tricky. You got to, the same thing's true in basketball. If you got a post player that's a dominant player and you can throw him the ball, then you just play off of that. Do they double team? If they do, well, that makes everybody else better. If your guy can get good enough at passing it out, then you got everybody else in rotation, shooting open threes, driving closeouts, making other players better. If you don't have one of those post players that people have to double, then you can throw it into the post, but nobody's helping. That guy's got to be able to score. And if he can score, now you're in business. But there's not very many guys that can do that. If he can do that, he's going to play in the NBA. And, that's like North Carolina has guys like that, and so point being on all of that, again, it's not just the system, but it's your personnel. How good your personnel is sometimes dictates how complex you need to be.
At this point in the season, how do you facilitate consistent production off the bench?
Well, that's, you just hope that your guys practice well, but then eventually it's got to carry over to a guy making a shot in a game. And, our freshmen have been inconsistent that way. Devin Coleman has played well the last couple weeks in practice and has improved in some areas, but he hasn't been able to make a shot yet. And so, he's doing some good things. He's coming off some screens. We're getting him some pretty good looks, and he's not making them. Obviously he's frustrated by it. And, it's the same is true of other guys too. Just, you got to have a little game success to build confidence. You can do things in practice, but until you do it in the games, it's a little more difficult. And it's hard because some of our guys don't consistently get to play 18 to 20 minutes every night. They might only get 8. And so then I'm sure you feel a little pressure in your 8 minutes to try to make a play. It's been a little hard for us as a coaching staff because we would like for a couple of our freshmen to, it'd be nice if they'd separate themselves, and be a guy that consistently goes in and makes a shot all the time or does this or that. And, that hasn't really been the case. The one thing is some of them are good at one thing and not as good at another. And so every once in a while there's a game where it's a little better for one guy, maybe not quite as good for another guy. And, fouls and a lot of other factors dictate how you play guys. It's hard to play 11 people. I think I said that last week. It's hard to play 11 guys. So there's going to be times when there's going to be a guy not play very much. And, I think you can realistically play 9 pretty close to double-figure minutes. Maybe that 9th guy's close to double-figure or just a little less, but you start playing 10 and 11, and there's going to be guys that are only getting 4, 5, 6 minutes most of the time if you have some other guys that are your regulars that are out there for 30.
Do you like where the mindset is of guys like Andre and Tanner, considering that things have been a little easier for them the last couple of years, and it's been a little bit more of a struggle this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're, nobody's happy that we're 9-8, and we've had some frustrating close losses, and it's a different team. We were talking about it as a staff today. It's, there's a clear difference between older players and younger players, and it's strange to have 4 seniors and 6 freshmen. You can almost see it like coming and going. It's almost always the seniors coming and the freshmen coming, and the seniors going and the freshmen going. And again, it doesn't mean that they don't get along, they don't spend time together. This team gets along great, but they're not they're not with each other. There's not, all the time. There is a difference, I should just say, maturity. There's a difference in probably interest. There's a difference in confidence. There's a difference in experience. There's just differences that come with having guys that are 4 years older than the other players. And, again, I talked about this early on, moving fast enough to keep the older guys excited and learning, but not going so fast that the freshmen can't keep up. We really had some problems with that early on. Just felt like we couldn't get out of first gear for a while. It was just really slow in terms of teaching. We're past that now, but I do think there are times when the older guys feel that there's pressure on them to make plays, and I've told them that's part of what comes with being a junior and a senior in a program. It's your turn to be the guys to do things, and that's not going to go away. And they need to embrace that as opposed to looking to it as a negative. They have to look at it as a positive, as an opportunity. And I think it's taken a little longer for Tanner and Andre and all those guys, Milt and Devin, to really understand that, feel that, embrace that.
Given the size of their front line, you mentioned Bobo will get.
Yeah, I do. I'm hopeful that he's going to play well for us and be a factor and be a situation where maybe he can play 15 minutes instead of 8 or 9. I think we could need his size. I certainly think that they'll try to do some things to pound the ball inside, and hopefully he's ready to go. In fact, I talked to him about it yesterday. So.
You feel like he would need more consistent play under Milton Devin, seem like they've come on as the new year's come on.
Yeah, I think Milt's been really good since we got back from Hawaii, and I think Devin's been pretty good. I know he had a game where he was a little bit of foul trouble and maybe not quite the same rhythm, but those guys have improved. They're getting better, and certainly kept coming off good play against Duke. They need to follow that up, though. We need to follow it up with, this week they need to play 2 more good games. And again, if they do, we'll have good chances to win, and if they don't, it'll be hard.